When we go out and talk to our customers, talk to enterprises in the EMEA region particularly, but also around the world, typically what we see is that enterprises fall into one of three areas for their WAN deployment. Many customers are still using MPLS networks to connect their data centers, clouds, branches together. But many are also on the other end of the scale, on the right-hand side of this diagram, and they've already deployed an SD-WAN solution. They've got multiple underlays, and they're interested in having those underlays enhanced. And then in the middle, we've got transitioning from MPLS to SD-WAN. And this is basically where customers could be anywhere from an early evaluation into a full later deployment of an SD-WAN solution. So they could be somewhere along that journey. Okay, so as customers look at modernizing, or enterprises look at modernizing their SD-WAN, they're looking at the deployment methods and how they can change those to give themselves more control. So being able to provision in real time, be able to have non-lock-in contracts. So you take control, more automation inside your network, allowing you to simplify the way that you deploy. So you can consolidate services, have them running over infrastructure that does many things at the same time, all under your control, but combining the ability to join your branches, your clouds, your data centers, and connectivity to partners and Megaport marketplace partners as well. And all the while, security and performance has to be paramount. So it's about lowering latency, having better jitter figures, localizing your traffic so that you get a better user experience overall. And of course, having that security layer in place as well. So the more you can do private connectivity, the better. Private to cloud, private between data centers, and then maximizing as much as you can private connectivity between branches, especially when you're using an SD-WAN solution. We'll just do a level set on the Megaport Virtual Edge, and we'll explain what it is and why we're talking about the different SD-WAN vendors. Okay, so this is showing where the Megaport Virtual Edge fits in. So the MVE is basically a hosting SD-WAN virtual device capability. So here we have it in the center. On one side of the Megaport Virtual Edge, we have an internet-facing interface. On the other side, we have an interface on the private Megaport network as a service. So essentially what's happening, starting here at the left-hand side, you've got your SD-WAN solution deployed, and it can use an internet connection to reach the Megaport Virtual Edge. You can then take one of your SD-WAN licenses and deploy that on top of the Megaport Virtual Edge. And that then comes under the control of your orchestrator, your SD-WAN controller, and it just looks like another branch on that SD-WAN deployment. However, this branch is special because it allows you to get to everything on the Megaport network. So you can reach all of the cloud providers, so AWS, Google, Azure, IBM, Oracle, Salesforce, etc. You can also reach data centers, and you can get to all of the global data centers that Megaport has around the world. And then finally, you can reach other branches and other routing capabilities on the Megaport network. So Megaport is not selling an SD-WAN solution. We are just selling the Megaport Virtual Edge, and you take one of your SD-WAN licenses across to deploy on top of that. So where do we have these devices deployed? We've got them in multiple different metros around the world. We're deployed in all of these. Paris is coming soon. We're also deploying in new locations all of the time. And in each of these metros, we actually have 2 deployments of the Megaport Virtual Edge. So there'll be 2 physically separate deployments in each location. Each location also has 2 Tier 1 internet transit providers connected to the virtual edges as well. And these are ready to go. You don't have to be in these metros. You don't have to be in these data centers. Just like with the Megaport Cloud Router, you can decide where you want to deploy it, spin up the device, and after a few minutes, you're able to start using that. Okay, so all of these vendors at the bottom are technically qualified to be used with the Megaport Virtual Edge. VMware and Aruba will be available soon. We launched initially with Cisco, and we were the first to launch with Cisco SDCI, which we'll talk about in a little while. And that was the initial launch of the Megaport Virtual Edge. Since then, we've launched Fortinet and Versa networks as well. The Virtual Edge comes in 3 different sizes, so the t-shirt sizes, giving you different CPU allocation. So 2 CPU for small, 4 CPU for medium, and 8 CPU for large. That also comes with certain amount of internet-facing throughput from 500 megabits per second to 1 gig and 5 gig, going up to the sizes. And then we also have a typical SD-WAN endpoint recommendation, but this does depend on which virtual edge you're deploying on top of the MVE, so which SD-WAN vendor. In addition, the virtual edges come with DDoS protection. It comes with the public IP addressing. The peering is already done there. So that's already done to 2 internet transit providers, so that you don't have to worry about that piece of the network. Maybe just take one step back. Incidentally, what we would expect customers to bring is, we would expect you to have your branches deployed already with an underlay connected most likely to the internet, and to have that deployed. And then we expect you to bring one of these virtual licenses from one of these vendors to deploy on top of the Megaport Virtual Edge.